Hello and welcome to Portland State University Intermediate Excel. In the next couple of videos, we're going to be talking about ranges. Now, ranges are things that you've already seen before, we've already used them before, but we're just going to explore them a little bit more in depth so you have a better understanding of these things that you've already been using. Okay, so quickly, what is a range? Well, a range is a thing that points to one cell or a group of cells, usually used in a formula. Okay, so when I say that you've already seen it before, what do I mean by that? So I'm going to double click on this guy to open it up. I'm going to write a formula for it. I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to click over here on E7. So here in the formula where I wrote the character E and then the number 7, that thing there that's blue refers to this cell E7 over here. So that is a range reference, or a range. So if you'll notice this cell here, it lines up with the letter E here, that's the column, and it lines up with the number 7 there, that's the row. So E7 is a range that refers to the cell E7. Okay, so like I said, it's not rocket science. So let's see, there's nothing in that cell, so I'm gonna stop writing that formula because it's just gonna equal 0. Say we look at the range B7 as another example. If I go over here and open up, I hit equals, and I'm gonna type it this time as opposed to clicking it, B and 7. Notice how when I hit the B, it didn't do anything because it didn't look like a range reference yet. But as soon as I hit that 7, it went, oh, I know what he's trying to do. This is a range reference. So I'm going to turn it blue. Right? I'm going to turn the text there blue, and I'm going to highlight the box that refers to the cell B7. Because if you'll notice, there's the column B, right? Lines up with the B there. And there's the row 7. So this cell is the intersection of B7, and so it's cell B7. And yeah, it's really as simple as that. It's really it's not that hard. But I wanted to go over a definition before I went too much further. So that's sort of what a range is. It's the way that you refer to another cell in a formula, and you use these all the time. If you didn't have these, Excel wouldn't be all that handy. This is the thing that lets you build these big complex calculating machines. Okay, so as I've already shown you, you can certainly type a range into a cell. You could say I don't know, D14. There we go, D14. Or you can also, I'm going to hit the plus symbol. You can also just click on a cell, and you also get a range. It does the same thing. And notice how it color codes it for you. It makes it really nice and easy to see what your different ranges refer to in your formula. Okay, I'm going to hit escape because I don't really want to make that calculation. I just sort of wanted to show you what a range was. And sometimes in the spreadsheet world, you'll hear this referred to as A1 style referencing. And when they say A1 style referencing, they mean that's the way of referring to a cell. Because in Excel, the columns by default are these letters here, and the rows are these numbers here. And so the first row and the first column, I'm going to hit equals, is A1. And so if you hear A1 style referencing, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about a referencing style where the first part is a letter and it refers to the column, and the second part is a number and it refers to the row. There's other kinds of referencing that you can even turn on in Excel, but boy, if you're a new user, they're awfully ugly, and there's no reason to learn them. So stick with A1 style referencing. It's pretty easy. Okay, so now that we sort of have a good idea about what a range is, why don't we go on and make things just slightly more complex by talking about a relative range reference. So by default, all the ranges we've worked with so far have been relative ranges, relative references as well, sometimes they're called. And I could give you a long sentence that sort of describes what they are, but I think it's just a whole lot easier for me to show you. So I'm just going to show you right now. So if I click over here, and I hit equals, and I want this cell here, B7. I'm going to hit the plus sign, and left click that cell right there, and I hit enter. Okay, well that's nothing new. We've seen that before. I'm going to hit Control C to copy it. I'm going to select these guys by left dragging with the mouse, and I'm going to hit Control V to paste. Now notice when we did that, up in this cell, our references referred to this guy and this guy, right? Hit escape. Now that I'm in this cell, it no longer refers to this cell and this cell. It's referring to this cell and this cell. So when I copied the formula, the reference is sort of moved with the formula. So in this formula, the references were like the same row and one column to the left, and the same row and two columns to the left. And so when I copied that down, it sort of followed the formula, right? So that's kind of handy. If you've got to copy a formula all over the place, that sure makes it easier than having to go into each formula and sort of click and drag the range to put it into place. So another example of that, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit equals. I'm going to click on this upper left cell over here. Click on that, and it's F7. I'm going to hit enter, and now I'm going to left click on it. Control C for copy. I'm going to left drag, and I'm going to hit Control V to paste it. Now when I paste it, notice that even though this cell is referring, that this cell here, the formula in this cell is referring to this cell over here, when I copy and paste it, it sort of moves along with the copy and paste. So when I moved the formula over one to the right, the range also moved one to the right. Enter. And when I moved the formula one down, the formula also moved one down. And likewise, when I moved it one down and one to the right, it moved one down and one to the right. So on and so forth. Okay, that's really handy. This is a really useful feature in Excel. It allows you to sort of write one formula and apply it to a bunch of other areas very quickly. So you can imagine, I mean, this is only 3 columns right here, but say I had like 1,000 of these things. I could write the formula once and copy and paste it, and it would work in all 1,000 pairs of numbers. So it's sort of a more formal way of thinking about it is that when you copy and paste a formula, all the ranges in that formula are sort of the same number of cells away from the formula, right? So if I write a formula that's let's go over here. I'm going to say equals. It's 2 columns to the left and 3 rows up. So let's see, 2 columns to the left. I'm going to click. That's 1 column to the left. That's 2 columns to the left, and then that's 1 up, 2 up, 3 up. Okay, I hit enter. If I write that formula, and then I'm going to double click to see, yep, it's still 2 to the left and 3 up. I hit enter. I'm going to Control C to copy it and go over here. I'm going to hit Control V to paste it. The new formula, even though the lettering is different, it was referring to Q11 before, and now it's referring to T7. Even though the lettering is different, this range is still 2 columns to the left, 1, 2, and 3 rows up, 1, 2, 3. So when you copy and paste cells, the ranges will follow the formula around, which is a really handy behavior to have. I should also point out that when you cut and paste cells, this doesn't happen. It actually it displays a different behavior. So I've already shown you that. Let me write an easier one so it's easier, right? So I'm just going to reference this cell right next to it. Okay, so in this instance, the range reference is just 1 cell to the left. So if I hit enter, if I Control C and Control V to copy and paste, it's still just 1 cell to the left. But notice it's right there. Hit enter. If I hit Control X to cut and Control V, it stayed in place. It didn't follow the formula. I'm only telling you this mainly because I think as a new user, you will try and cut and paste a formula at some point, and the references won't follow the formula, and it'll be really confusing. So I just wanted to show you that that's what happens. So if you run into that situation, well, you might still be confused for a second, but maybe you'll remember this video and it will make more sense. Okay, so enter. Let's show some more examples, because examples are always good. So we're going to show. Well, let's see. This is kind of obvious. I just did this one, but I'll show you a slight variation on it. It says same row, 1 column to the left. Well, let's do same row, 1 column to the right, which is not really much more complicated, but whatever. Okay, so this is I've referenced E8, which is it's the same row. It's still row 8, and but it's 1 column to the right. Okay, I hit enter. hit Control C and Control V, and still it's the same row and one column to the right. Okay, hit Control C and go down here and Control V to paste, and still one to the right. Okay, easy. Okay, let's make it really hard. 2 rows up and 1 column to the right. Okay, 2 rows up. Oh, I'm sorry. 2 rows up. That's 2 rows. 1, 2, and 1 column to the right. Okay, that's the cell E17. So I hit Enter, and now I'm going to Control C and Control V. And now when I open up this formula, it's referencing the cell 2 up and 1 to the right. Okay, so we'll do it one more time, just so you can really get the hang of it. Control C and Control V. I'm sorry, that's Control C for copy, Control V for paste. And the result is it's still 2 rows up and 1 column to the right. Okay, so that is sort of the normal way things are. And if you just start, clicking around in cells, if you hit equals that cell right there, it's automatically going to give you a range like that, and this is what's called a relative range. But there's another kind of range, and that's an absolute range. And there's also mixed ranges, and that's what we're going to talk about in this page here, which is sort of why I wrote absolute and mixed ranges up here. So those relative ranges, or those relative references, or ranges, whatever you want to call them, you could use those terms kind of interchangeably. Those are the things that you want about 80% of the time. Most of the time, they work just fine. In fact, they're preferable to the alternatives. But there are situations where you want and you need something else. Perhaps you want one of these like 3 other options. Perhaps you want here. Let me I need an extra space in there to make that look a little better. Yeah. Okay, so maybe you want option 1 where the reference doesn't move at all. Maybe you want to be able to copy and paste the formula all over the place and have it not move with the formula. Or maybe you want it to be able to move up and down, but you don't want it to be able to move left and right. Or option 3, you want it to be able to move left and right, but you do not want it to be able to move up and down. Does Excel have a way for you to do this? Well, it most certainly does. That's what this page is about. That is absolute and mixed range references. So when you add a $sign in front of either the row part or the column part, what you're telling Excel is, I don't want that part to change, right? So if I've got this range B15 here, and I put a $sign in front of the B in B15, well then the 15 part, the rows can change, but the B part, the column part, well that's never going to change. And let me show that to you so you know I'm not making this up. All right, I'm going to hit. I'll make sure I'm not on B15. So, I can even do it here. Let's see. So if I hit equals, and I hit that guy right there, so that's for B15, and I'm going to put a $sign in front of the B, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay, now I'm going to select it again, Control C for copy, select the entire range by left clicking and dragging, and then I'm going to hit Control V to paste. And notice now the B part, no matter which one of these guys I go in, it's always going to be referring to column B, right? That part is always the same, but the row part is different. So it can this reference can travel up and down. This range reference can travel up and down, but it can't travel left and right. Okay. Conversely, if I wanted to here, let me show you this here. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I think there's some formatting in there that might mess everything. Oh, let's live dangerously. Let's live dangerously. I'm going to Control C to copy that, Control V to paste it, and let's do the opposite. So what I've shown you what you can do if you put a $sign in front of the B. I want to show you what happens if you put a $sign in front of the 15. So let's see. I'm going to copy these initial values here, Control V to paste them. And now I'm going to do equals. I'm going to click on that guy right there. And now, instead of putting the $sign in front of the F, which tells it, hey, don't ever leave the F column, I'm going to put the $sign in front of the 15, which says, hey, don't ever leave row 15. You can move around, the alphabet all you want, but the number 15 there, the row number, that has to stay the same. So I hit enter, and now Control C and Control V. So notice this guy, the F will now change to a G, but the 15 is always the same. It's always still pointing to this row right here. So let me show you some more examples, because examples are good. They make things easy to understand. I'm going to click on this guy. I'm going to click there, and I'm going to lock the row. The row is the number part of the reference, so I'm going to put a $sign in front of the row. That says the column, the letter part, can change as much as it wants, but the row part has to stay the same at all times. So I hit enter. I'm going to click on this guy, Control C, I'm sorry, and select the entire thing with a left click and drag, and then Control V to paste. And notice now that the column can change. The column can change, but see, no, it was it's B here, it's C there, and it's D there, but the row part is always the same. So here it's still 19, and here it's also 19, and there it's also 19. Okay, and let's lock the column. You've already seen it, but I want to show it to you again, because repetition, it sure does make things easier to understand sometimes. Okay, so we're going to lock the column part. The column part is the letter part. Put a $sign in front of it, because that's the thing that I want to lock. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to select it, Control C, left click drag to select this entire region, and Control V to paste. And now notice that the B is the same in all of these formulas, but the number, the row, is able to change. Row is able to change. Okay, and finally, I'm going to show you the absolute reference. I'm going to hit equals. Now I'm going to click on this guy, and I'm going to put a $sign in front of both the B and the 19. And now what I'm saying is, I don't, when I copy in this cell and I paste it all over the place, I don't want the column or the row to change, which is basically saying I don't want it to move at all. I don't want it to move at all. This is actually a little easier to understand. This is basically the don't ever move, don't ever change. This is the fear of change range reference. So I'm gonna hit enter, right? I select it, Control C to copy, left click drag to select that region, Control V to paste it, and now notice no matter where I go, I'm always referencing B and 19. The B is locked, and the 19 is locked. Or if you prefer the other term, some people say pinned. So B, we're pinned to column B, and we're pinned to row 19. Locked or pinned, either way, doesn't matter. Whatever helps you understand it best. And here's the same exact thing with some. I've added some conditional formatting so you could sort of color code it for you. This may help you. This may not. If it helps you, then use it. If not, just keep your eyes up here. Okay, so I'm going to click there. I'm locking the row, which is the number part. By the way, if you're not sure which part you're supposed to lock which part refers to what, just look. Just look over here. Say, hey, do I want it to be able to go up and down? Oh, well, these are numbers, so I'm going to lock that. Or, oh, I don't want it to be able to, I want to lock it, so it stays in one column. Well, these are letters, so that's where I put the $sign. I've been doing this for a long time, and frankly, most of the time, that's actually how I do it. I always have to think through it. I have not gotten good enough that I just have that memorized. It's totally okay to sort of look, and it's not even cheating. But if you want to call it cheating, yeah, go ahead and look. Okay, so I'm going to lock the 24 in this B24 reference. Hit enter. I'm going to hit Control C to copy it, and Control V to paste it. And notice now we've got the same exact behavior as we had up here, but you'll notice that each one of these, even though when it moves, the column can change, the row is always the same. Okay, let's do the other one. I'm going to click on that guy right there, and now I want to lock the column, which is the B part. Right. So hope I get this right. See, did I get it right or did I mess up? Sometimes you mess up. You just have to do it over again. Oh, nope, I got it right. Okay, so now in this situation, you'll notice that the column cannot change, but the row can, right? And in the case of the absolute reference, we're going to click on this guy, and we're going to put the $sign in front of both of them. Put the $sign in front of both of them. Okay, enter. Control C. Control V. Now notice no matter where I put the copy and paste the formula, it's always referencing this cell right here. Okay, one last thing. I want to show you this guy real quick. If you double click and you hit equals and click on this cell to reference it, to write that range, you can put the $ in manually, and I actually often do. But another option is to hit the F4 button. So I'm going to do +3. I don't think... Pretty much you have to make sure that this blinking cursor is sort of touching your reference for this to work. But if it is touching your reference, you can hit the F4 button. And notice when I did that, it automatically put the $ in for me. And if I hit it again, oh, it put the $. Now it's locking the row, but not the column. Hit it again. Oh, now it's locking the column, but not the row. And hit it again. Oh, it's unlocked both of them. So you can kind of cycle through with the F4 button. Either way is just fine. Sometimes people prefer the mouse. It's less, it's easier to do, especially if you're still learning the program. But I wanted you to know that that was an option. That's how a lot of people do it. Oh, what did I do? B24 +3. Oh, I've tried to add a number to text. That's why it's giving me an error. So why don't I'm going to delete that +3 part. You can see. Okay, yeah. All is well in the world of Excel. Here's a part where I didn't properly format this first. Let's see. Oh, enter. Okay, so a relative reference implies that when a cell is copied and pasted, the reference in the new pasted formula will automatically be updated to be the same number of cells away from the original reference. But you can lock it. To make sure that either the column will always stay the same or the row will always stay the same. All right, hit escape. Okay, so let's head over here. Let's demo this locking a little bit more. Just sort of drive the idea home. I'm going to click on this guy. So in the peer relative reference, and I'll show you, I don't know, one time, just because you've seen it, plenty by now. This is one cell down and one to the right. Enter. Okay. Control C, Control V. It's still one cell down, one to the right. Easy. Over here, Control V. Oops. Control C, Control V. Double click. Still one down, one to the right. Okay. Yeah, you've seen that plenty. You're probably bored with me doing that by now. Delete. Okay. So now I'm going to go over here. I'm going to double click again. Equal sign. I'm going to click on the same cell, but now I'm going to lock the column. The column is the number part, because that's the part going across the top. It's going down. That's a column. So I'm going to lock that. Hit enter. Okay, and don't worry about the number. I'm not really concerned about that. What I want you to worry about is when I double click on it, where's this highlighted part? Okay, so notice right now it's one down and one to the right. Okay. Control C, Control V. Well, notice that it's still one down, but still one down, but now it's much further over to the left. So it doesn't matter where I copy this guy. Control C, Control V. Okay. Enter. Just to say, oops. Control C, Control V. It can move up and down this column. Can move up and down this column, which is the same thing as sort of locking it to the column, but it can't move left and right. Okay. So Control C, Control V. Double click. Yep. So because I put this $ here, I can move all over the formula, and it can move up and down, but it can't move left and right. All right. So let's delete those guys. Delete. By the way, I'm clicking on the cell and hitting the delete button. Nothing fancy. Okay. Let's lock the row. You could probably see what's coming next, but I'm going to do it anyways. So I'm going to click there. So now I want to lock the row, and the row part is the number part, because these are the rows over here, and they're aligned with numbers. Okay, so I hit enter, and now Control C, Control V. So here's where it was. Here's where the reference was, and here's where it is now. It's still one to the right, but now it's all the way down there because it can't travel to a different row. It's trapped, if you will. It's trapped on row 13. That's what my $ has done, is it's trapped it to that row. Okay, so Control C, Control V. Okay, now it's over there. It's moved, but it's still on that row. Okay, Control C, Control V. Okay, and one more time. Control C, Control V. Yep, can move because I've got that dollar sign there. It can move this way, but it can never move this way. So it's stuck on row 13. If I were to put the dollar sign in front of the C, it would be stuck. If I took it off of the 13 and put it on the C, it would now be able to move to different rows. The numbers could change, but it would be trapped in column 13, if you will. All right, so hit delete, 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 delete. Okay. Now let's lock the row. Or I'm sorry, no, we've already done that. Let's do an absolute reference. So I'm going to use the F4 trick. So I showed you the F4 trick a few seconds ago. I want to do it again because it's I don't know, it's kind of fast. So I hit F4, and notice the first thing it does is the absolute reference. Because a lot of time, if you're going to lock a reference down, you tend to want to actually lock both. The mixed references you don't use quite as often. Okay, so I hit Enter, and now notice it's here, right? Control C, Control V. Still there. It's trapped both in column I and row 13. Enter. Control C, Control V. Still there. Doesn't matter where I put it. Doesn't matter where I put it. Same spot. Control C, Control V. Okay. So let's show you a bit more of a practical example. Say I've got this data, and this is data from 16 different regions, and this is the reported sightings of Sasquatch, and we want to build from these reported sightings of Sasquatch estimates to how many actual Sasquatch sightings there were, because we think maybe we think that there's a bunch of kids that are calling in with a practical joke. So we think that 20% of the reported sightings are jokes. So we're gonna reduce it down to 80% of this number. Or maybe we think that some people see Sasquatch and they get afraid and they don't call and report it. So we actually think that whatever the reported number is, it's 20% higher, right? So we want to build a table that has it gives us estimated what the estimated Sasquatch sightings are based on whether we think it's 20% below reported, 10% below reported, at reported, 10% above, or 20% above. Okay, and so sort of the naive way to do it, and this is the way that you probably do this once or twice while you're getting the hang of this, and there's no problem with that. I did the same thing. The way you would probably start by doing it is you'd hit the equal sign. You'd say, well, if I want 80% of this number here, I'm going to click on that and multiply it by 80%, and that should give me 80% of 78. And I hit enter, and so I pull out my desk calculator and check, and sure enough, 62.40 is actually 80% of 78. So okay, good. The formula is working, right? Ominous music. If you've got ominous music, you should play it right now. I'm going to Control C to copy the formula and hit Control V, and oh my lord, look at that. That doesn't look right. That doesn't. This is even worse. And this is, I don't even know what this is. That looks terrible. What in the world happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened, and you may have already guessed what happened if you're following along. You double click on this cell, and you'll notice that okay, so the C7 is pointing to the cell to the left, and the D6 is pointing to the row above, right? If you go here, well, okay, it's pointing one to the left and one above. So I wanted it to be looking at this 90% and this 36, but it's not. It's moved along with the formula. And I do need it to move. I need it to move, down this way and across that way, but I need to be able to lock it. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to let's just delete it and start over. I'm going to select the whole thing, hit the delete button. Okay, start over. Hit the equal sign, click that cell right there, and I'm going to multiply it by that cell right there. Okay, blue. C7 is blue. Okay, so do we want to put the dollar sign in front of the C or the 7? Well, we want it to move up and down, which means we want it trapped in column C. So we're going to put the dollar sign in front of C to lock it into column C. And now this guy, well, it's the opposite. We want it to be able to move freely across row 6, but we want it to be able to move up and down. So let's put the dollar sign. I do hope I got this right. I may have gotten this wrong. We may have to redo this because this stuff happens. But I think that's right. So I'm going to hit Control C, Control C to copy. Control V to paste. Oh, that looks better. Now let's not just trust our eyeballs. Let's double click on this guy. Oh, good. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. I double clicked on the cell, and then sure enough, as you go through here, it always is pointing over to the reported number, and it's pointed to the percentage. So it's given us exactly what we want. Okay, so in summation, a range, as you may have known before this video, and now you most certainly know, is the thing that you use mostly in a formula to refer to another cell. So if I click over here, this E5 thing that's blue, that's a range, or some people call it a range reference, or some people just call it a reference. Whatever you want to call it. Range is just fine. When you copy and paste a range, I'm going to move this. Notice how I get the little four-way arrow thing there. I can click and do it. By the way, I get that four-way arrow only if I get right near the edge of the cell. If it's in here, it won't work. Okay, so now this range is referring to one cell to the right. So if I hit Enter, Control C, Control V, when I copy and paste, it still says the same sort of distance up and down from the original formula. So it follows the formula, if you will. But, if I want to, I can lock it. I can lock the letter part. I can lock the letter part so that it always stays in that same column regardless of where I copy it, but the 9 part can change. Or, delete, I can lock the row number so that it could go all over these different columns, but it's always going to be in row 9, regardless of what I do it. Or, and you use this more commonly, you can put the $ in front of both, and now wherever I copy and paste it, it's always going to be referring to E9. And also, a little keyboard handiness, if you hit the F4 button, you will cycle through your different options, assuming that the blinking cursor is touching your range reference. I'm going to lock it there. Okay. I'm going to hit Enter, and Control C, Control V. Yep, still pointing there. Well, okay, we still have a little ways to go, but I think this is a good breaking point. So I do hope that was helpful, and in the next video, we will look at a few more different kinds of ranges, a few other things that you could do. I'll see you next time.